Now, let's turn our attention to the global war against terrorism. The growing strategic partnership between the United States and Nigeria has recorded a major breakthrough following the successful elimination of Bilal Al-Minuki, a senior commander of the Islamic State terrorist network, during a coordinated joint operation involving American and Nigerian forces. The operation, described by U.S. President Donald Trump as meticulously planned and highly complex, underscores the increasing level of intelligence sharing, operational coordination, and military cooperation between both countries in confronting transnational terrorist threats operating across Africa and beyond. In a statement, President Trump disclosed that American Special Operations Forces worked closely with the Nigerian Armed Forces to kill Al-Manuki, who was identified as a second in command within the global ISIS structure and one of the world's most active terrorist operatives. And the armed forces of Nigeria have announced the killing of Bilal Al-Minuki, described as a senior ISIS commander and one of the group's most active global operatives during a joint counter-terrorism operation conducted alongside United States forces. The military said the operation was carried out through coordinated intelligence sharing and collaboration under the recently strengthened Nigeria-U.S. security partnership. In a statement issued by the Director of Defense Information, Samaila Uba, the Defense Headquarters describes the mission as a meticulously planned and highly coordinated counter-terrorism operation. According to the military, the operation disrupted a dangerous terrorist network operating within Nigeria, the Lake Chad Basin, and the wider Sahel region. Well, let's talk some more about this war on terror and these successes been recorded through these joint operations. Dr. Seyi Adetayo is a security and intelligence expert. He joins me live in the studio to critically examine this. Dr. Adetayo, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
You know, when we see this news, well, several emotions really flow, because you're just wondering, hey, we're making some successes. But also when you hear that a Nigerian citizen is the #2 in command of the ISIS structure, that's a huge one. Talk to us. Who is Al-Manuki and what do we know about him? How did he get to this point?
Okay. It's an interesting story, and I think what's on the mind of every Nigerian is to, get the answers to same question as to who is him. So we have to look back to, his birth and the early years of Al-Manuki. So the young man was born in Benishek, that is in Kaga local government of Borno State, and but he's actually from Mainoki. Is also from that same local government, and typical of people from that, because it's not far from Maiduguri, they always go to Maiduguri to work. So usually they will name them after where they are from. His name is Abubakar from Mainoki town. So that's why most of them will adopt the name of their community, of their village, as their surname. And so from records indicate that he was a tout. Started out as a tout, motor park tout conductor, and then later became a bus driver. It was at the point that Boko Haram started, so he went to go and join Boko Haram. A record also shows that as at the time he joined Boko Haram, he wasn't a scholar. He wasn't known for any Islamic teachings or training. So he was purely a fearless young man that was ready to fight. So, and that played main key role in how he rose, through the rank. And so at the time they joined, he was able to show valor and began to rise through the rank until he became a commander, and he was deployed by Shekau. This was when Shekau was in charge of the affairs then. So he was deployed to Lake Chad with his headquarters then as a place called Al-Fukran in the Lake Chad, where he was based then. So, and as of 2015, Shekau joined ISIS, and the name is territory as Islamic State of West African Province, ISWAP. But along the line, there was a fallout between Shekau and the leadership of ISIS in Iraq, Syria, where he felt that he could not be taking orders from them and be sharing proceeds of his exploits with them. So there was this breakaway. So when he broke out from ISWAP, Mama Nur was made the commander, the head of ISWAP or ISIS, you know, in the West African province. And Mainoki did not go with Shekau. He stayed. So along the line, you know, within that process, the young man was killed, and then he became, Mamanu was killed, and Aina became the commander of ISWAP around that. So along, you know, there was this fighting between ISWAP and then Boko Haram, also known as JAS. That is Jamato Asrisuna, that group. So, and there was a particular incident among his exploit that he launched a daring attack on Shekau's men, and he killed, in one single attack, he killed over 73 fighters with their commanders at that time, and that gave him international prominence. That particular exploit brought attention to him from the headquarters of ISIS, and that was how, you know, attention was placed on him. He was made the commander in charge of Africa.
Yeah. And
along the line, I think as at 2022, 23, he became part of the secession plan of ISIS. As at that time, you know, even our own intelligence organization, the DSS, were already aware of him, and they've been monitoring, you know, all the activities as at that time. So one thing people should understand is that his activities was not, you know, entirely, you know, unknown to our intelligence service, because they were actually on ground and were monitoring what was going on there. So at that time, they began to monitor, and he also was also trying to evade, you know. Also, so you know, in 2024, he became #1 in Africa and #3 in the world. And I think about 2025, he became #2. But as we speak, the #1, which is you know, Abu Hafs al-Hashimi, who took over from al-Baghdadi when he was killed, is the #1, but more like a political head, not a military or operation commander.
Like you have a prime minister and
Al-Manuki was the global head of operation, military operation for ISIS globally. Every operation that is being planned, that was planned throughout the whole world on ISIS, was being ordered, sanctioned from his camp. So that is Abu Al-Manuki. Yeah.
So he held, you know, so much weight and influence. But then also there were reports that Al-Manuki was killed in 2024. Was there a mistake, an impersonation, or what exactly?
Okay, so I think this is where the confusion, like I said, you see, there's this tradition in the northern parts of Nigeria where people will be called by where they're from. So, you know, when you talk about Al-Banawi, Al-Banawi simply means that somebody from Borno. So, but you've seen different Al-Banawis that have been killed. So the names will suggest that this person is from Borno. Doesn't mean that it's the same person. So there are so many Abubakar from Manoik town. And when they say Abubakar, Manoik, doesn't mean that it's the same person. So now let me now tell you the difference between these two people. So the other guy was a member of JAS, the Shekau's group, not the ISWAP.
Oh, not ISIS.
Not ISIS. So there was no record to show that he was a top commander. But the name also definitely rings bell because it bears the same name with a notable person that had been under the radar of both our local intelligence and international intelligence. So when you kill somebody like that and you see that name, it is, what is it called, tempting, you know, to want to believe that it is the same person. However, there are some other information which I may not want to say online also that speaks to, you know, what he represents even in the jazz. That is Shekau's camp, you know, but there are two different people. That other person was killed, but not this number two.
All right.
Yeah.
So now the original number two has been taken down,
Exactly,
thanks to intelligence by Nigerian forces in collaboration with U.S. Forces. Let's talk about the fact that we're seeing success.
The intelligence actually came from here.
Came from here.
Yeah.
Amazing. And we seem to be recording a lot of successes in recent time. And these successes seem to be driven more by intelligence and less by combat, as it were. It's not just hitting the different locations, but actually being able to work based on intel that's been gathered. Talk to us about that and this success that the DSS
Intelligence-led operations produces more results than just going out there blindly. You know what you are looking for. You know the person is there. You know the person's capacity. You know how many people are there. You know the best time to attack. If you look at how, American forces were able to take out the September 11 terrorist, what's his name? It escaped me now. You see, it was a product of years of intelligence.
Is it Osama bin Laden?
So Osama bin Laden. It was a product of years of intelligence. So they were not just shooting everyone and killing everybody. The same thing here. Our local intelligence have been working with this for a long time. And my own understanding, if it concerns international, then they share it internationally. But if it's something that is local, they deal with it locally. So because this one had, it has been able to garner international prominence. It's now an international figure. It wasn't operating just in Nigeria alone. It was operating globally. So it's not just a Nigerian problem. It's a global, terror-related issue. So it wasn't out of place if they had to work with, foreign intelligence as well to ensure that, one, identification is very key. You need to be able to have, positive ID to say this is the right person and this person is actually here. But I think it's, that's why if you look at the video, it was precision strike. And it wasn't only him. Trust me. You will, maybe with time we'll get more information, but I'm sure that lots of top people will have been covered by that airstrike that we saw.
All right, and we see that this is a great one, for the DSS to have achieved this. And in recent time, we have seen them also succeed in the courtrooms, prosecute cases and get justice as it is. Talk to us about that and what it means really for the body and the war against terror.
I think it's a new, see, every leadership will come with its own style. And if you know DSS for one thing, they don't just shoot. They shoot if it is necessary. And they get results. So, and they adapt with every situation they have. So, the courtroom, the period, the time we have calls for it. It's not everything that you have to put handcuffs on people's hand and they drag them and say that you are. But, when you need to make a statement, it's not just, and you see, at times we've got it to a point where, because of advent of social media, it's not just enough for you to just make a press statement to say somebody is wrong. Let the law prove that the person is wrong. If I tell you and say what you're doing is wrong, it's against the law, and you'll continue to argue. But if I take you to the court, let the court interpret your action, and the court will end up telling you that it is wrong. Then it is not them talking anymore. It is the Nigerian law and the Nigeria as an institution, as a state, telling you that that action is wrong. So everybody, everywhere, 10 years' time, 20 years' time, the record will be there. It becomes a judicial precedent for future action. So they don't need to start telling people anymore. When similar cases brought to court, they'll make reference, to the judgment that has been made in relation to that. And a lot of people will stop doing that thing because now they've seen that someone, is not being punished for the same thing. At times, we also need to test our laws to see whether we're actually doing the right thing. So that's why you're seeing, the outcome of those cases in courts, and it has been positive all through. And I believe that the impact, is more felt than you know, having to arrest people and start explaining. So this approach, I think, is novel, and I think it's also achieving the right results.
Now, talking about these prosecutions, just last Friday, about 2 days ago, there was a woman, Halima Omar, who was sentenced to 20 years imprisonment for 2 of the counts. It was a 4-count charge. She pleaded guilty to count 3 and 4, and she was convicted on those. And, you know, the other 2 had to later go on trial. But also, how do you think we can now move to that point where, but I actually see both. I see that we are handling it at all levels. I mean, we are taking out the leaders and also working to ensure that even their foot soldiers are also being dealt with. How do you think we can sustain this momentum?
Well, you see, if you continue to do the right thing, and if you're doing the right thing and you continue to do the right thing, it won't be long before it becomes an habit. It becomes part and parcel of us. So, you see, people, there's no other best way to encourage people than showing them how to do things and the results. So I think that this good result that is currently being achieved will go a long way in sustaining the momentum, motivating, and also, you know, controlling the narrative out there, because that is also very important. Social media nowadays, somebody can easily twist what has been done, and then they try to make some story. But now you see, if you check platform, you see some people even correcting them now. They say, no, we saw what the judgment says, and what you are saying is actually true. So at times you are pushing, you know, the conversation to the people, the narrative, and let the people do the correction. So instead of government coming out all the time to say, to try to correct things or try to, you know, change the narrative, the people are now the one helping to change the narrative now, because they are not stupid. They've watched the news. They've seen what the court is saying, and they will quickly shut anything that is negative, and they say, no, they are not making sense. Right. They all saw what happened.
And for the people, you know, some seem to already have a perception about security operatives, and especially about the DSS. You know, they tell you, yes, we don't see them every time, but when you see them, you suddenly, oh, that person made a statement and they picked that person up, and you may never even hear from the person until days later when there's public outcry. How do you think we can further boost that public trust and confidence in our security apparatus?
Well, I think it's a catch-22 for situation for all intelligence services all over the world. What you see in Nigeria is not different from the way it is in America, because that is what they are, the intelligence secrets. So it's like, we don't know whether they are here and there. So that element of fear should be there. It's helped to put the citizen in check, because when you have that, oh, maybe the people that we are here where we are planning to do bad things, there is somebody here who is actually working for government. That would also want to deter you from doing bad things. So intelligence agencies should not be an agency where everybody will be entirely friendly with everybody, because it's also, you know, demystify, you know, what they're supposed to represent. And you see, what this current leadership of DSS have been able to do is to say, you know what, we are professional. We'll give you international standard, what is obtainable everywhere. Whatever you used to know before is quite different now. We're not going to just come after it to say, because we want to know. Where you feel that you argue, we'll take you to court. Get a lawyer, argue your case. If you feel, you see, if you remember, there was a time when issues around, you know, shadow government came and stuff like that. The matter was taken to court. The approach would have been different some years back. Are you with me now? But they were taken to court. The matter went to court and pronouncement was made. It became very clear. Did you hear about it again? What better way to shut down, you know, a negative narrative other than that? So, you see, when you are doing something and you are achieving results, I think you should continue to do it. That's what I say.
All right, so keep at it and keep achieving the results. Dr. Shiyade Tayo is a security and intelligence expert. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and helping us better understand the situation.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.